showing sampling of a truck.
Is that a day? 55 a day?
Yeah, 55 a day, across all ingredients types. We produce around 1,500 tons a day of product, and so all of that gets tested: protein, fat, moisture, density, size, shape. We do that here, and then we have a Nestle. We have a NPAL is what we call it. It's Nestle Analytical Labs. It's in St. Louis, but we send off product to them, and they actually do a full assay of all the vitamins, minerals, you name it. We don't have the capability of doing that here, so we just send product from different runs to have that done. Then we also, check our date codes, seals, weights. We have 3 bacteriologists that do product testing, so we test everything for salmonella, and then we also do environmental swabs everywhere. So I graduated with a microbiology degree. That's the closest I get to anything just to do with my major. It's funny because when I was transportation manager, I was trading, I was talking to the warehouse manager at the time, and I said, "Oh, what's your degree, and what did you do? What did you graduate in?" And he's like, "I think it was criminology." And he was the warehouse manager. And I was transportation manager, and my degree was microbiology, so we were laughing about that. My college degree doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to do. It kind of gets your foot in the door, and then depending on what kind of company you work for. Nestle being the largest food company in the world, you can see the different roles that I've done. I mean, the sky is the limit. There is, for Nestle, if you want to be an expatriate and go overseas and do stints over there, there is all kinds of opportunities for anybody that wants to do that. So that is one very cool thing about working for such a big company.
The question, 1,500 tons per day.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And do you have specific standards that you use for sampling and testing?
Yes. So Nestle being such a large food company, they are full of standards. I mean, Purina has their own Nestle Purina standards that we go off of. We're also governed by the FDA, USDA. We are ISO 9001 and 22000 certified as well. I mean, again, they don't go into the details of how you sample, but we have very specific. So every truck, we use the probe. We have to sample each section of the truck and get 9 samples across the bed of the truck. We're testing frozens, ingredients that come on pallets, and you drill so many, and so yeah, a lot of very standard based. Mm-hmm. In fact, we hardly do anything without a standard, and if there isn't one, you make one.
So here's a surprising thing for Nestle Purina. ISO 9001 certified, right? Most American hospitals are not. We have, I don't know, under 10 maybe nationwide. That's kind of scary to me.
I have some interesting stories. I mean, we bring in a lot of corn and wheat and other grains, and I've had drivers get mad because we've rejected for finding one sawtooth grain beetle in our sample, and they get rejected. If we find any insects at all, it gets rejected, and they get mad. Well, Frito-Lay down the street will take this, so why aren't you guys taking it? Oh, I have another one too. So we were bought by Nestle in 2000, and that year we had a QA conference, and so the Nestle QA managers, and so Nestle at the time owned Alpo and Friskies. Well, they were our direct competitor for years, and so then all of a sudden we're part of the same company. So now we're Purina. We had all the dog chows and cat chows and ProPlan and O&E, and they had the Alpo and direct competitors, you know, and then all of a sudden we're now together. And so we had a QA conference where we went to their wet factory, which is canned in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then right next door was our dry factory in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and so we had our conference there so we could see both factories. And I'll never forget the tour, we're walking through Allentown factory, and it's a wet factory, it's canned, and we're walking, they had a huge refrigerator and these tubs of ingredients, and it's like the fresh ingredients. And I'm walking past and I'm looking at these tubs, and like this one had just, the whole thing was full of just beef hearts. So it's just cattle hearts. And then this one over here is just a whole vat full of livers. And then this one over here is like a whole vat full of chicken heads and feet. Like just the heads and just the feet. And so the girl's talking to us and giving us the tour, and she says, yeah, you know, this is our fresh ingredient area. We're having a really hard time. I'm staring at the heads and feet, and she's like, we're having a really hard time sourcing ingredients right now, though, because it's hot dog season.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I'll just never forget it.
Yeah.
So we also have, like I said, we have a full distribution center. We can hold around 60,000 pallets. So like when I say pallet, I'm assuming everybody knows it's this unit load holds about, we call them unit loads too, hold about, I don't know, anywhere from, depending on the size of the bag, 45 to 50 bags stacked. We ship around 105 trucks per day, so around 4,000 pallets. 38 pallets go on a truckload. So a lot of quality management is people development, training. I really have to get results through others. And so this is my team. I have an assistant QA manager and all the bacteriologists report to her. And then I have an operations supervisor, and he has all of the lab analysts, and they're the finished product lab analysts. So they test the finished product, protein, fat, moisture, sensory. He also has an operations specialist. So we also formulate every day. So we have like a base formula that for all of our products, but there is a software that we use. So like raw chicken, for instance, fluctuates in protein. And so if that day or that load of chicken that we're using is slightly lower in protein, then this software will boost something else that is hot, you know, to make sure that, so it takes into account all of the ingredient proteins that we're using in order to make sure that the finished product is going to be the right protein. So she handles a lot of the formulation stuff. I have a compliance supervisor, so like I said, we get audited constantly. If not external audits, ISO 9001, 22000, we just had the FDA in last month. We have also tons of internal audits. We have our corporate office comes down and audits. Nestle loves to audit. They have an audit called the Nestle Market Audit. It's like a 5-week audit. NMA audit. That's exactly what it is. So our compliance supervisor also has the ingredient specialist report to her. We have HACCP coordinator. Does anybody know what HACCP is? Is that something you guys have talked about in quality? So HACCP, HACCP, as far as food companies are concerned, I would say almost all of them have a HACCP program. It stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. When the FDA comes in, they're going to ask for your food safety program, which is your HACCP program. It was developed by NASA. I don't even know when, but I think it was when the space shuttle, or when they were sending people up in the space shuttle, and they needed to ensure that the food they sent up with the astronauts was food safe. They didn't want the astronauts getting sick up in space. And so it is like regular or previous quality programs would kind of, their entire program was testing the product. We test it to make sure that it's good. HACCP tries to take a step back to say where in the process can you put a control measure so that it guarantees that your finished product is good. And so that's where our HACCP comes in. So like the critical control point for us, that CCP is the temperature at the extruder, which is the extruder is what we cook the product in. So like we assume that just like you at home, your chicken might be salmonella positive, might have bacteria in it, it's all raw. And so we make sure that when we're cooking it, it's up to a specific temperature. If it doesn't hit that temperature, it automatically diverts. And so that's our critical control point. And then, I also have a product safety supervisor, and he does all of the inspections. He makes sure that we have all of our cleaning plans in place so we can clean properly. He has 3 specialists work for him, and they do all the pest control in-house also for the factory. So they do foggings, fumigations, heat treatments.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
So based on your being a director, how often do you meet with your team and collaborate on like findings? And obviously you have like reports that come out and like, all right, this
Yeah.
product is this, product is that. Like,
Yeah. So great question. So my supervisors and assistant manager, I try to touch base with every single day. And I have like this leader standard work like so it's like every day, it's like it has this list of certain things, and I want to make sure that I'm at least touching base. Hey, what's going on? How's everything going? Are you doing okay? Did you have any issues last night? And we're a 24-hour operation, so we get calls in the middle of the night, things go wrong. The rest of the team, I try to make it out to the labs at least once a week. I'm on all 3 shifts, so like, and when I say all 3 shifts, like come in at 6:30 before they leave at 7 a.m. Then they come in at 3, stay over, and so I try to touch base with everybody in the department at least once a week. But I encourage, like, the direct supervisors, I want them to touch base, obviously with their direct reports. But that's a good question. So HACCP, again, I talked about that. So I said our CCP, which is our critical control point for salmonella. So part of your HACCP program is you identify what you believe your biggest risks to be to your product. And so these are what we've deemed our biggest risks in pet food. Does anybody know what mycotoxins are? Has anybody heard of that? So mycotoxins are a toxin that is produced from mold that can grow on grains. And so corn, for instance, can have aflatoxin, which is a specific toxin that can grow on corn depending on the growing conditions. And there is a pet food factory in Chickasha, it's not us, I can't remember the name of it, but they had a huge recall for aflatoxin. Aflatoxin is very toxic to pets, and they had, like the FDA basically had to come in because there was, 20 or 30 deaths related to aflatoxin. In Venezuela, Nestle had a